Welcome to part 24 of FIFA 17.
Oh, praise the Helix fossil!
Yes. And today we're going to be...
Oh, sure, I've got to show you Twitch plays Pokemon.
But yeah, Dwibs, who we're facing now?
We're facing the Premier League champions, Leicester City.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next in the story.
Leicester, whatever it's pronounced.
Leicester.
Whatever. Oh, Leicester, like the unlikely. Okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, they were unlikely to be champions, and well, look at them now.
Here we go.
Dwibs.
Yes.
Is this one of those matches where you... Let me guess, is this one of the parts where, again, you do really good, but the coach is like, you suck?
No, actually. Well, I do good, but the coach says nothing.
Are we gonna get any story?
I'm pretty... Don't worry, Joe.
I think there will be something near the end, but I don't remember.
Don't worry, Joe. Even well, I'm not sure about EA in general, but at least their sports division at least makes some tweaks here and there. If they can tweak the gameplay, I'm pretty sure they'll improve on story content.
I'm a bit apprehensive because this is like the first time they're ever diverging into story. And seriously though, here's the thing. They got people from BioWare to help out with the story in the first place. Like, that should have at least guaranteed at least a structure.
Well, Joe, if anything told me is better along the years, I don't mean recently, I mean over the years in general, BioWare only downgraded a lot.
Ever since Mass Effect 3.
These are not the people who gave you Baldur's Gate. Get over it.
Oh yeah, how about Andromeda?
Also, Jovar. Also, guys, you're Sonic fans. Don't forget that charming Sonic Chronicles. Come on.
Oh, don't worry. I remember Sonic Chronicles, but
you know, speaking of yes, football games, recently I've been thinking about since unfortunately we've lost the original videos that we did of me going through different eras of football games. I was thinking of doing that. I was thinking of doing that again for like a side.
Oh yeah, Dwibs, you mentioned that in part 1 as well.
In case we have absolutely nothing else to do.
Well, we have Steven Universe for 10 minutes depth, and we have occasionally...
But, well, Dwibs, Jova, while I get your point, I also understand what this is, but let me say, Dwibs. First, you mentioned this already in part 1. Second, sure, but just don't get too elongated with this part, because I honestly getting a bit tired of these matches in general.
The problem with this game is that this game
it's the exact problem I have with this sport in general. It's too repetitive. Well, I normally wouldn't mind stuff that's repetitive, but it has such small and bland rules that the repetitiveness is so heavier on me.
Like, seriously, let's compare soccer to, like, say, basketball. You're actually seeing different moves, different plays here and there. Or football, you know what I mean? Well, the idea is to get to each different line down here and there, and lots of different penalties happen. Heck, that's why a game that should just be an hour long ends up getting stretched to hours because of all the different plays.
That's why I don't like it, though.
Here's the thing, though, with soccer, like Tio said, I mean, and again, this is nothing against soccer. I myself do like the sport, but it's more so when I'm playing it. Watching it... Again, the field is so big, and there's only like 1 point you can make from the goal. Yeah, that's another thing. Unlike most other sports, actually, you only get 1 shot per goal, whereas with other sports, you can get varying different points of shots, so there's a lot more different strategy. Here, it's literally just, okay, make sure you get enough points and then keep the one out of the goal. I get it that it's simple, but for a game to go on so long, that's a bit... dull. In fact, that may be why FIFA Street didn't do as well as, say, NBA or NBL or heck, even NFL Street. Because, again...
I mean, I may not enjoy it as much as other people do, but I still commend Zoom 11 for trying to add something different to the format to spice things up.
And again, this is no dissing against soccer as a whole, it's just... I mean...
Oh, that's the thing, Joe. I know it's not as relevant in America, but you've seen United Passions with Dwibs and Pedro.
Oh, I know.
You should know how bloated this monster is in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm gonna be quite honest. It's to the point where it's a bit of an issue since apparently, unlike in America, goal line technology is, for some reason, not even that big a thing. But in America, we have cameras that will zoom in.
Like,
Pretty much.
Actually, don't Jova. We now have those here in Portugal. Portugal's the first one to try that.
We've got them.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. It took Europe quite a while, and even then, it's not implemented and everything, from what Dwibs told me.
Like,
Yeah.
Dwibs, I don't want to diss on the sport in general. I still want it to happen. I just wish it wasn't this much of a big thing in terms of financial stuff and, you know.
How ironic is it that United Passions, a movie made to celebrate FIFA, ended up showing up many of the big problems about FIFA? Like Pedro said, like Pedro said, over in Europe, soccer is pretty much a business to you guys more than an actual.
Well, and that's kind of what my problem is. Like, for example, this also counts as a kind of a bad education. The children are taught, at least in I'm speaking mostly from the standpoint of my country, because this happens all over. But I'm pretty sure it could also have been applied to Brazil back in the glory days. Like, children are being taught ever since they're kid that if they run behind a ball enough, they will able to gain huge amounts of money, more than they can actually dream of, and beautiful girls. Now, on paper, it certainly wouldn't be bad, but this in turn raises entire generations of very ignorant people, because, trust me, I've seen a lot of players getting interviewed and they're ignorant like fucking donkeys. And,
Honestly, yeah.
And essentially, it dumps a huge amounts of money into a sector that barely has any retribution at all because of different factors like cost about the television broadcasting the events and shit.
Well,
And
honestly,
normally that
guys,
wouldn't be as much a big problem.
Hold on, Dwibs, go ahead.
well, honestly, guys, I'd much rather this than something like cricket, because at least with football, you know, there's different kinds of play. You know, fast, tough. You're acrobatic.
Well, I'm definitely not comparing
on
this.
the ground.
That's all, guys. That's all a matter of
we're not
taste,
really
though. This is kind of pointless.
Guys, not for nothing, but I did let you go on for like 5 minutes about it, so.
I thought you were done. Go on.
Well, I wasn't.
Go on.
Anyway, I mean, at least again with football, at least you know there's all different kinds of stuff you can do. You know, there's acrobatics. There's going fast, being more tough. You know, standing your ground or just running straight towards them, etc., etc. It's endless. With cricket, though, there's only like 3 different ways you throw the ball and like 2 different ways you swing a bat and you catch something. And
well,
yeah,
Dwibs,
sounds very exciting.
Here's the thing, Dwibs. I'm not really comparing it to cricket. When I'm talking sports, I'm talking about, you know, the sports that are actually big time. Cricket is not big time, let's be quite honest. Hence why bringing up
In England, it is.
well, in your country,
in
maybe.
England,
but
though, here's the thing. Basketball, football, yes, even American
Basketball's
football.
not that big round here either.
well, that's like saying baseball is a big thing outside of America.
That's all cultural differences. It's kind of pointless.
Anyway, let me finish. See, the difference is that basketball, American football, yes, even American football, those are sports that actually still make their way across to other countries to a notable amount. Cricket ain't really that big a thing except in a few select countries. Like even baseball is big in other countries like Japan. My point is this, though. When we're talking sports, we're talking about mainly the big 4 or 5 if you count tennis. Basketball, soccer, football, baseball, and like I said, tennis. Hockey as well. Too.
There's boxing as well.
Yes, my point is like, well, again, I'm comparing this to, you know, the bigger sports that actually make it their way across. And again, look, I'm not saying that this means soccer is all around boring. It's just I can see why, you know.
From my experience, it all boils down to case-by-case basis, really, or game-by-game, I should say.
Also, Dwibs,
some games are an absolute slog to sit through, others are really exciting.
I think part of the problem is just the oversaturation of soccer over in Europe.
If it's too defensive, if both teams are acting too defensive, then odds are the fans are going to be using the seats more as a glorified sleeping bag than anything else.
Yeah, that's also actually another good point you mentioned, Dwibs.
But if it's more attacking football, then that's where it gets exciting. There's a phrase around here in England that we use called parking the bus, where a team basically just sits back and defends throughout the whole game, making sure they don't concede a goal. That's
Well,
what the heck's up with
mostly that's
the
actually been
cameras?
used as a negative towards other teams. But I'm like, well, I mean, I might not like it when other teams do it. I mean, hell, sometimes even when Chelsea do it on occasion, I'm like, guys, you could try to score here. You know, we need to win games.
That's the deal,
But,
though. I mean,
Let him finish. Let him finish.
But I do understand why they do it. You know, it's better to if you don't score, then at least it's best to make sure the other team doesn't.
I think if
Yeah.
it works under your particular circumstances, because it will be a case-by-case basis. So if it works at the time, then fair enough.
Yeah, it worked for us when
you do, because that's a bit.
it worked. It actually worked for us when we faced Barcelona back in 2012. We at least for the the game at Barcelona, the second leg, we basically just sat back and let Barcelona shoot everything they had, and so right at the end they made a mistake, and we just ran up the other end with absolutely no one in their half defending it, and we ran up and scored and went through to the final.
Wow, you didn't lose on penalty kicks. Well done.
It's club football.
Anyway,
Besides Dwibs, what I was talking about was not as much of I was also before talking about how soccer/football kind of is, but my main point instead is how its treatment as a business is actually damaging a lot of people, both for the players, like I mentioned, but also about the.
I don't.
What's the term? Well, you in Britain call them hooligans. But essentially, people who actually, are cheerful to the teams that go to stadiums and shit. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are.
I just do what everyone else.
I'm pretty sure there are people who are just, enjoying this sport for the passion.
I just do what everyone else does and just focus on the matches, not the politics behind them and not the hooliganism. Because if I did that, then I wouldn't. If I did that, then why would I bother watching football?
well, here's the problem, dude.
Or any sport for that matter.
Here's the problem, dude.
Unless it's wrestling, where that kind of stuff's actually a part of it. But even then, you should focus more on the people in the ring, not the backstage stuff.
Oh, that's the point.
Here's the problem with that.
It attracts a lot of violent people, and I don't understand how we can fix this.
Also, yeah, honestly, dudes, if we fall with that mentality...
Well, we do all we can. We just ban those violent people.
Yeah, please finish.
Unfortunately, we just kind of attract more. And
anyway, as I was saying, Dwibs, if we follow through with that mentality, then the FBI would not have arrested FIFA, and FIFA would have just gone on to be more corrupt.
Oh, that wasn't hooliganism. That was just corruption.
Well, Tia was mentioning how FIFA's become more.
I'm just leaving the that stuff to the proper people.
The main problem is that the
Not my
politics
job
are.
to police football.
I know, but let us call it the issues. The issue is also that those things have seeped into the things where, yes, referees can be bought off.
Besides, that thing's in every sport. I remember that kind of thing happening in cricket a couple of times.
Well, yes, dude, it's in every sport, but it happens the worst with FIFA, which is supposed to set the example.
It's a trade-off due to popularity.
Well, all
this sport is
sports should
just
do
more
that.
popular, so all things are getting more popular, including.
I'm just saying all sports should do that. Even just because you're on a lesser pedestal than football doesn't mean that we should give them an excuse when they're slacking.
Well, we never give them an excuse. We call it out. It's just we're talking about FIFA because we're playing FIFA in a game that is not focusing enough on its story to facilitate us talking about the actual game. Can I talk about how this game story reminds me of the problems with Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days? Yeah, it boasts a
But Jova,
complex...
when will Alex Hunter be able to eat ice cream with someone else?
Like, here's the main issue with 358 over 2 days, and by extension this game, it's that, okay, they are insisting we pay attention to this narrative, yet they constantly shove in the missions without even having story after them, or best, a tiny little cutscene or whatnot.
Well, at least this isn't connected to the absolute clusterfuck of a story that's Kingdom Hearts in general.
Give
We'll
it
wait
some
and see
years,
how the
please.
sequel handles that.
If EA manages to get more titles with story, maybe we'll get like a Avengers-style crossover or some shit.
Oh, yes,
Hi, Alex Hunter. This is Sven-Goran Eriksson. How would you like to join the Avengers?
Oh my god, that would be perfect. The protagonist from an NBA game, the protagonist from an NFL game, the protagonist, Alex Hunter from FIFA, of course.
Yeah, Jova, and you know what? With Tiger Woods as Bernie Curie, because he's the actual famous person behind
Who
it.
trusts Tiger Woods these days with anything?
Yeah, Tiger Woods always manages to bounce back somehow. Well, it's because he's a damn good player, I guess.
Well, I
Yeah,
guess it's only
I've heard he's been
popular.
slacking. I've heard he's been lacking in recent years.
Yeah, but he came back with a vengeance just
I
recently.
just don't follow golf because it's another sport that I honestly don't find
I
a lot
don't
of
really, I
appeal.
don't really care much for golf either, unless it's everybody's golf PlayStation series.
To me, it's more like
What
mini
about
golf.
We Love Golf, where Capcom actually decided to have Pearl and Apollo be the HT20 reps instead of Maya and Phoenix?
For the record,
Well,
everybody.
to be fair,
Also
Joe,
10.
even though he is the main character, you do have to use other ones. Like
Oh, hold on, Dwibs.
Otherwise-
So what's next, Dwibs?
Training.
Okay,
For the-
good.
Anyway, I was going to say, Jova, if they kept using Mara and Phoenix, we'll eventually get to the point where non-Ace Attorney fans will think they were the only two characters in the franchise.
Well, that's actually kind of my point. It's like, normally that's
hold
the
on.
Capcom shtick.
It's interesting you say that.
What is this, Dwibs? I forgot.
It's just Alex getting his FIFA.
Oh,
FIFA
so it's going to
Ultimate
be
Team
used
Award.
for a collectible, card.
It's interesting you say that, Dwibs, considering how there's latent purists who would rather them continue with just Leighton and Luke forever, and I disagree with that. I mean, honestly, the Breath of Fresh Air need to happen at some point, otherwise things will get stale. So
Well, yeah, that's what they got Lady Layton for. I mean, sure, maybe for crossovers.
it's the main
they'll use-
purpose why Takumi was originally coming up with Apollo Justice. We all know
But
how
then
that
you
turned
got
out,
executive-
but fortunately Yamazaki fixed it.
Well, yeah, because Shu Takumi got executively mandated hard with
Yeah.
that game. He got executively. Oh, guess what?
Which,
Apparently, not only was including Phoenix the executive mandate of that game, apparently the finale case was in and of itself an executive mandate just to be with the times.
You know,
Okay.
speaking
Makes sense.
speaking of Capcom and getting repetitive,
Yeah.
one thing that I find a bit weird is that up
Yeah.
until Mega Man's lull period, a lot of people were complaining that Mega Man games they're just releasing the same shit every year
Wow.
and they're overdoing it, and now
It was also the Mario process. That's also why Mega Man instead got evolved into different sub-series, like the classic X, Legends, Star Force,
Battle
Battle
Network.
Network, yeah, and Zero.
Poor Star
there's
Force.
like six different sub-series and
Well, if there were enough ideas, I guess why stop?
And
here?
now most of those sub-series are dead.
Well, it's bound to happen.
Well, maybe
I-
they'll come back.
It's essentially Jova. Your guys are Sonic fans, in general more Sega fans than me. So you should know that companies these days are essentially sitting on top of a mountain of IP corpses. Essentially,
And yet here Sega are actually bringing back stuff like Shining Forces. They're bringing Yakuza over. They're bringing Puyo. I mean, don't get me wrong. They still have a few other IPs that they need to bring back, but even Sega are wisening up to it. It's just Capcom are annoying. It's like, franchises that they don't kill, they just keep in Japan. Why?
I'm not
Because
s-
it didn't sell well in Japan. So of course that means it's not good for localization stuff.
I'm not
No.
saying just throw out all your old IPs like instantaneously, because that could lead to overcrowding, and also if you do all that many at one,
it's
at
all
least one,
about pacing,
suffer
Leaves.
for it. But maybe just like slow and steady. Like
It's all
if one
about
goes
pacing,
well, you do
Leaves.
the other, and
Progress
then
a bit with the old and introduce new things. Capcom actually did some things around
They were-
the period they were getting bashed with by creating stuff like Dragon's Dogma.
Although, too, you gotta be fair, Tio. Though at that time, there was good reason for people bashing on them hard. The cap.
Yes
also-
and no, Joe. I still stand on my point that the overrating was
And
way
also-
overboard.
I agree that there was
And-
some overhating. The problem
Anyway,
is like, well,
and also one other thing.
what?
If you don't have any ideas for a series, then don't do it. Otherwise you'll end up
Oh, hold on,
I
cutscene.
agree.
down.
Finally,
Big day for you tomorrow.
Which big day?
Just a cup game.
There's no such thing as just another game in the
Roar,
Yeah.
Cup competition in the
Yeah.
world.
This is your life, yada yada yada.
Back
And,
Mark
Yeah,
there.
this is this is a tournament where even a Welsh club can get to the final.
Also, where did this side of Alex come from? Like, he's been nothing but incredibly dedicated, and now he's just shrugging it off as just another cup game.
Maybe.
Well, remember, he's played
power is going to his end.
he's played cup games in a different competition earlier in the
Here's the
game.
problem, Dwibs. With the choices you've been going with, it suggests that he knows that he should treat them with the most level of respect. Yet now, here it's just, whatever, new cup game. It's like, this wasn't even foreshadowed that he was getting cocky.
Well, maybe, man, I don't know. Anyway, in the next part, we have got another cup game against Manchester United.
All right. See
Oh yeah, isn't that like a team you're a fan of?
If by fan you mean anti-fan, then yes.
Oh wait, never mind. Pedro's the fan because it has a Portuguese guy.
Nah, not really. I don't really care much for Man
He doesn't
United
like that
nowadays.
specific Portuguese guy.
Not
Really?
really.
I thought you did like him going off of E3.
Well, the thing is, I did back in 2003, but that was back when he won the Champions League for us. But that's been...
now he.
Yeah, you
now
mentioned E3, but I believe Pedro called him a sellout. So
No, not a sellout. I mean, it's just that
he betrayed the Portuguese.
He used to be a likable, like a cocky but still likable dude. But now he's just gone full asshole at this point. But anyway,
Let's
yeah.
wrap this up. See you then.
see you, everybody.
See you then.
yeah.